Hello and welcome to the Solve Network. I'm Shane Borza, host of the podcast. Along with my co-founder Benjamin Goss, we'd like to welcome you. Our mission is to provide solutions and create a network of experts for you to learn from. We hope this episode and expert helps you to learn, grow, and move forward. And now, on with the show.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
Hi, I'm Shane Borza, your content creator coach. I have 2 books on filmmaking, Film Notes, where you learn to write, direct, and produce, and the Film Notes Workbook, where you can learn checklists and paperwork to streamline creating your content. Available at shaneborza.com. I also have filmmaker resources like the Paperwork Bundle with over 300 documents, the Sound Effects Bundle with almost 3,000 files, and the Music Bundle featuring 900 tracks of all genres. Want to build your professional credits? Become an associate producer and get listed on IMDb. Let me help you get your art out into the world.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
Shane, if you got any questions, we're happy to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to let you kind of complete all that. I feel like it was a really good arc, actually. And I think it is really, it's a great invitation for coaches because I think, I could say for myself in my practice that it's kind of like teachers, they say you learn by teaching. It's like quite often I feel like I get coached by coaching. And I'm meeting with a lot of different people. They're all dealing with different things. I'm learning about, different people in different places dealing with different issues. And one of the first things I'll ask them is, so what have you been doing? What have you been trying? What's worked? What hasn't worked? And I get so many great ideas just by asking them what they've been doing. And if it doesn't work, then quite often, I'll talk to a client last week who said, well, I was doing this, but it didn't work for me. But that doesn't mean it doesn't work for anyone. It just meant it wasn't the right fit for them. So sometimes it's kind of like, you got a big toolbox with a whole bunch of tools. You just got to reach in and go, what's the right tool for this person? Yeah. And sometimes it's finding the right coach, but sometimes it's making sure that coach has the right things to offer to that client. Mm-hmm. And I think what you said at the end is so good of, a successful coach is a coach that has clients that see results. Yes. And if we can help provide coaches with some other options or help to kind of cultivate a bigger toolkit, then they're going to have happier clients who are seeing more results. And not only are they going to probably, love the coach more, but they're probably going to broadcast to other people, which is just going to help the coach more. And like you said earlier with the PTSD in the gut, it's like, well, that might be a vicious cycle, but on the other hand, like you could have this excellent cycle of, helping clients who then help you, and then you help clients who then help you. So what I'd like to start with as far as kind of a discussion here is, what do you think is a good way to help facilitate that for coaches so that they can start seeing more results with their clients? Like, what could you offer them? You say, hey, here's maybe some new options or some new tools for you to put in your coaching toolkit.
The market has exploded with challenges and, different 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, this, that, the other thing. So everybody who's in personal development is out there with a new program, trying to get folks moving in the right direction. Search around, find somebody that you like to follow as far as their mindset in the way that they feel about how they can help people out. Because again, like Shane said, to be the quote unquote fast results coach is going to put you head and shoulders above everybody else out there. And fast results, again, can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It can be any of those things. But getting those results fast is what's going to get you there. And again, I'm going to talk about the mechanical issues. If your client isn't mechanically in a position to feel better, they can't. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault if these people don't feel better. It's a mechanical process. If they cannot release the right hormones to feel better, they can't feel better. No pill, no shot, no anything is going to get them moving in the right direction until that works. So what do we need? We need to get them mechanically right. We need to figure out a way to help them physically feel better. And that comes down to the food they eat. It comes down to supplements that are going to move their microbiome in the right direction. I'm not sure if we've got an international audience or not, but the typical American diet, I mean, we're kind of the joke of the planet. People wonder why Americans are depressed because of the typical American diet, which has only gotten worse over the last year. People have only gotten more delivery. People have only done more fast food. What's safe? Driving through a drive-through. It's not safe to go to a restaurant anymore. What's safe? Getting my groceries delivered instead of going to the store. Well, you know what? You half butt yourself way through the thing, and you throw some extra Cheetos in there and the whole deal because you're just on the computer having fun ordering groceries. These are all things that have moved people in the wrong direction to be able to reach where they need to get. Everything comes down to getting your customer's goal met. Period. I don't care if you're a coach. I don't care if you sell tires. I don't care what you do. Someone comes to you with a burning desire and a pain point that needs to be assuaged. Your only job is to find that pain point and do everything in your quiver to assuage that pain. If that pain is originating from their diet, you got to change their diet. Doesn't matter if you're an executive coach. Doesn't matter if you're a financial coach. If your people are not performing properly, I guarantee there's a physical issue involved. And all you got to do is look at their diet. Look at how they drink. Look at how they eat. Look at how they sleep. It'll be very easy to get into that. But again, going back to the typical American diet, it's a little more difficult for us because our entire lives are built around that. As Americans, and I'm 50 years old. I've been raised with a specific dietary plan for the last 50 years, which included some stuff that isn't the best. So as crops have gotten worse, as the fact that vegetables don't carry as many nutrients, hormones in the meat. I mean, my God, girls going through getting their period at 11. I mean, are you kidding me? 11-year-old girls having periods? That doesn't happen unless the wrong hormones are injected into their system. So when you've got all these things you got to fight against, you need a silver bullet. You need something to help you. Again, we prefer supplements because no matter how well we eat, we know that if we're not taking the right supplements, we're not going to get where we want to be. And we have to perform at our peak. There is no excuse for us. We have too many people depending on us to get their lives better for us to flounder on our own lives. So we owe it to all of our customers and our clients to perform at our peak. We have to, or else we should not be pulling checks from these people. So we need to make sure that we are doing everything in our power. And again, we feel we have to supplement. We have to take something to make sure that our gut-brain axis is working properly. We have to have all these chemicals working right, or else we're just not going to be 100% like we need to be every single day. Do you want to say something?
Well, honestly, that's okay. Mel goes off.
It's so exciting.
It's fine. It's okay. It's all good. So, I mean, he's already kind of put a lot out there for you to take a look at. But honestly, once that mechanical trigger is back in place, once that microbiome is back in place, whether you're a life coach, a health coach, an executive coach, you're coaching businesses, everything else is just going to click into place so much more quickly for you and your client and their journey. So I think that's really all I'm going to add into everything you just said, because I think that's just going to make your job easier as a coach. It's going to make the client's job easier because now they're going to see success a little bit more quickly because they have the right cellular health going on for everything else to be able to open up.
Your job is to get them where they want to be. Mm-hmm. Your job is to get every obstacle out of the way. And we all know that if there's even just one obstacle left, it's going to stop them. It's human nature. The new term is friction. Everybody likes to use the term friction now. If you don't have a frictionless process of getting somebody to their goal, they ain't going to get there. So that's why we look very deeply into the mechanical aspect, because we're all human beings. I mean, that's the one thing to remember. We have not changed much in the last 40,000 years. The same cavemen and cavewomen that were bashing bones against each other, we're physically fairly close to that now. So our body has not evolved to all the chemicals. Our body still thinks we're eating good, clean, lean meat. We're eating plants that we're pulling out of the ground. We're eating stuff that we have been conditioned to have a certain way of functioning. And our brain knows it. Our brain knows that if the gut ain't doing the right thing, we are not going to be able to function properly. So fast forward 20,000 years. Now we got no nutrition. We got chemicals. We got preservatives. We got blue 32. We got 4 million different kinds of alcohol. We have every kind of recreational drug you can imagine. All these things. but the human body's still the same. It couldn't possibly compensate for these things. So we are seeing mechanical differences. The great point, the reason we talk about this so much is Harvard. Harvard is leading the way with gut-brain axis research. Mm-hmm. Harvard, Columbia University, the ones we were just talking about. This is a major topic for the biggest schools in the world right now, because they finally realize that if you don't get the mechanical issues in place, nothing else is going to work.
So you talked a couple times about some different things that you have shifted around, such as like, oh, I got 50 years of being programmed to like eat a certain way, So I'm curious, and you mentioned supplements a couple times. So could both of you talk about some of the things that maybe you have changed or maybe flipped on? I know for myself, there's been a lot of things I look back and I go, oh man, for 20 years, I thought this. And now I do the complete opposite. So for instance, I grew up a cardio warrior. So it's just more running, more cycling, more hours on whatever and that's how you get fitter, is you just do more. And I was just pounding myself into the floor. And so now I'm 45 and I have all these overuse injuries. And I've spent the last few years like working on mobility and flexibility and strength. And I feel so much fitter. And I look so much better than I did when I was like 30, for instance. Mm-hmm. But it took a lot of time to change that, because like you, it's like, oh, I had 20 or 30 years like reinforcing this, the left hallway, and now I'm going down the right hallway, right. Pun intended. So I'm curious for yourselves, like what has been some of those biggest shifts for you?
Good.
I think for myself, I want to say that, we owned a 10,000 square foot fitness center and Medi Spa. We in that center, we trained a lot of bodybuilders. And so I think that that's a great avenue to take. But for me as a woman, what I found as I was aging, I found it harder to hold on to that muscle tone and all of that. So I've kind of changed my routine and gotten into a little bit more body pumping now and getting my yoga in and just making sure that, I'm keeping myself flexible, because there's all that tension on the muscles constantly. Like you said, you feel the injuries, you feel, as you're aging, you feel the impact that has. So I've lightened up my exercise routine where I do more body pumping, more cardio, more yoga, more mindfulness. I make sure that every day I start my morning with a meaningful meditation of some sort, gratitude, and setting intentions for the day. I think that even before I get on a phone call, I want to just sort of take myself back from that phone call and say, what is it that I can provide? What wisdom and guidance can I provide to the person that I'm about to speak to? And so setting that intention of how I can show up for people is also something else that I've changed dramatically. And that just, I think, re-energizes me throughout the entire day.
Is it okay if I tell a story? I was born a 10-pound baby, and I only got bigger from there. So in the elementary school I attended, I was the fat kid. In the middle school I attended, I was the fat kid. In high school, I was the fat kid. We all know it. We all know that one fat kid, that was me, guys. I was the fat kid all throughout my life. I graduated high school at 300 pounds, 18 years old, 300 pounds, only 6 feet tall. So it's not like I was, 8 feet tall. Got out of played rugby in college, 325. Got out of college, ballooned up to 350. So at 26 years old, I was 350 pounds and knew I was going to die. Just could feel it. At 30, I'm going to have a heart attack. So ended up playing racquetball against a buddy of mine. I'm going to shorten the story. Flipped the switch. Toggle switch flipped, and I lost 150 pounds in 14 months. This was 23 years ago. And I'm not telling you guys about this for the weight loss, but I'm telling you about why I want to incorporate this in. So when I lost 150 pounds in 14 months, I did it by eating the Mediterranean diet before anybody knew what the Mediterranean diet was. 23 years ago, there was no Mediterranean diet. It was a book I read called The Zone. So, 25 years ago, The Zone was a very popular diet, endorsed by Olympic athletes, the whole 9 yards. And I followed it to the T and lost 150 pounds. And the reason I'm talking about this is because, again, it really harkened back to the Mediterranean diet. But the problem was I was so strict and so uptight for 14 months that I can barely stomach any of the foods I ate during that time. So, eating a salad with grilled chicken on it, zero desire. A lot of the foods that help me lose the weight, I no longer desire. The reason I'm talking about this is the Mediterranean diet is what impacts the gut biome most powerfully. So when somebody is a very depressive state and they realize that's a mechanical issue, typically a gastrologist will put them on a Mediterranean diet and they'll see their mood elevate. For me, because I can't stand most of those foods anymore from being such a psycho and losing all that weight, I had to find another way to do it. And a little caveat, a little side point, the reason I realized that I could lose all that weight was because the Mediterranean diet made me happy. Until a couple of years ago, I did not put two and two together that the reason I didn't quit dieting was because my gut was coming back into check. I was a 350-pound fat guy. I was living on McDonald's. I was living on donuts. I was living on booze. I was living a crazy fat guy lifestyle. And all of a sudden, that's it, done. All that stuff's gone. Now I only eat this precise diet. Come to find out, after I was able to endure it for a month, I started feeling better. And that's and again, not to bring dieting into this, but I think it's an important point because a lot of you guys probably deal with folks trying to lose weight. When people hit that threshold point of, I can't deal with this diet anymore, it's driving me crazy, I hate it, I hate everybody, I'm feeling so miserable. If they can push a little beyond that point, typically the diet they're on will get their gut biome in a better position than they were because they obviously have to lose weight for a reason. They probably were eating wrong or probably drinking, whatever they were doing incorrectly. Now you are correcting that for them. So once they get beyond that threshold point and the gut biome starts catching back up again, they will feel happier. So just a little bit of total side advice to anybody who works with weight loss customers, help them to get through the threshold point by explaining this to them. Your gut is broken, and it's broken because of the typical American diet. Always use this line, it's not your fault, because it's not. It's not your fault that you got into this position. You've been trained to eat this way your whole life. We are going to change this. The change is going to be hard. Change is always hard. We're human beings. No humans like to change. But if you can push through, and once you reach that worst point, that's when you want to make sure you have this conversation with them. Explain how the gut-brain axis works. Explain how the microbiome is what releases the happy chemicals that will allow them to stay on point with their diet. So that's what I learned. And again, it really just dawned on me a couple of years ago that the only reason I lost 150 pounds was because once I hit that threshold point, I didn't do any research. I just gutted it out, but then started feeling better and better every day. So again, going back to I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but I wanted to make sure that anybody that deals with weight loss, explain that. Guys, do everybody a favor. Explain to people that when they hit that worst point, their gut biome is changing. And once that change integrates, they're going to feel better and better and better mentally. Mentally, they will feel better. They will be more attuned to your advice and more powerful in their diet. But again, I'm sorry to go back to that, So what I found out was I can't eat those foods anymore. Okay, so I went through it. So, and this is what your client's going to tell you too 20 years later. 25 years later, when you talk to your clients, they're going to be like, man, I can't eat chicken on salad anymore. So because I don't enjoy the Mediterranean diet foods anymore, I had to supplement. I have no choice. I take pills and powders that I love that I know align my microbiome because again, I have to perform my peak. So, I'm kind of a weirdo that I don't like eating the foods that are going to make me feel better. So I almost force myself into taking supplements to make sure that my brain and my gut are working together.
But in addition to that, I want to say that because his microbiome has changed, he is no longer craving some of those bad foods that you do, right? So once you get that back into check, then all of a sudden your body is looking for the green smoothies and he drinks those. He might not want to admit right here, but in the morning, I bring him a green smoothie, even though he doesn't want to do the Mediterranean diet stuff. He does get, his proper nutrients throughout the day between the foods we eat and the supplementation that we take.
And that's what a green smoothie is. It's a supplement. It's just a supplement of food,
There's so many things there that I can relate to, even though it's kind of in my own way. And it's funny too. I liked how, Concetta, you were talking about he meant like the kind of Mediterranean foods anymore, but you'll bring him the smoothie. I think that's the great thing about partnerships, and whether it's a spouse or, if you're a coach and you have a coach buddy or just the coach and the client together, that's that accountability that helps you. And it's so funny. Before my wife and I got married, this is about 10 years ago. I used, and again, you become blind to the things you do. It's just like your habit, like you come home from work, you have a drink or whatever it is. And that just seems normal. And it's not till someone else comes in from the outside and they see that they might question you or question the way you do it. And that sometimes is the first time that you question it, And so my at the time girlfriend was starting to stay over at the place, and I would get those huge Heinz ketchup bottles, and I would put ketchup on everything. I put it on my eggs, I put it on my sandwiches, I put it on everything. And she was like, wow, you use a lot of ketchup. And I was like, do I? And it was the beginning of me being mindful of like, oh, I kind of drown stuff in sauces and condiments and all that. And I had remembered, when I was younger, I used to work in a restaurant, and the cook always used to complain that people would put stuff on the food. He's like, no, I made it this way so you could taste the flavors of the stuff. And if you're going to dump things on top of it, then you're not tasting the food, you're tasting whatever the thing is you put on top.
Yeah.
And so I just my first step was, I'm not going to buy the biggest family size. I'll buy the small size. And then it would force me to have less. But eventually I don't use stuff anymore. I eat everything kind of just to taste the food. And every once in a while, if I do have something that has dressing on it or a sauce or some kind of condiment or ketchup or whatever, I don't like it anymore. Kind of like you can't go back to the Mediterranean food. And I've realized that now that my gut has changed, not only am I not craving it, like I can't eat it. Like I don't want it. It tastes bad to me. But I was I don't know if addicted is the right word, but just so used to it that it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to put food on a plate and I'm going to put ketchup on the food. Like that's just part of me putting the food on something so that I can eat it. Yeah. And then it became, oh, if you put stuff on there, now I can't eat it because my body doesn't want all those artificial colors and the preservatives and the sugar and the everything else. And so I think you're right. A lot of that is mindfulness, it's awareness, but it's also, like you said, shifting and having that time to say, it's just like a new habit. Like if the habit is I'm going to get up and go for a run in the morning, it takes you a while to start incorporating that into your life, and then it becomes normal. Well, if you want to go away from eating ketchup or drinking soda all day, it's going to take you a while for you to shift and then have not having soda be normal. So yes, I can definitely see my own version of that. Even though like I wasn't the fat kid in high school, I didn't have to go on the Mediterranean diet, and I'm not now sick of that. But I did have my own addictions and my own things from food that I no longer do. And so that to me is like the identical thing. It's just a parallel version. So I'm really glad that you both talked about that. And so I'd like to ask the next thing, you both mentioned a number of times that you use supplements and there's certain things that you found have like worked really well for you. So if you were going to give out a resource for someone and say, hey, go here to learn more information, or here's some of like our top 2 or 3 things that we really like, where would you want to send the coaches so that if they wanted to try things for themselves or if they wanted to recommend things for other people, where would you want them to go so that they have this high quality, high recommended thing that you personally know works?
It's the product that I've been using lately, and again, it's just because I need to get my gut aligned without eating some foods that I know are going to do it. So there's a product out there called Edge that we like a lot. Edge, I got to be on my edge. So go to edgeforcoaches.com. Just check it out. A lot of videos on there about science and whatnot. We're science geeks. That's a big thing for Concetta and I. Is our daughter's a doctor, so we're very uptight about these things. We get all the science behind everything. And, the guy, Dr. Sean Talbot's the guy who was the formulator for this. And we just fell in love with the guy. So that's my favorite. I use edgeforcoaches.com. That's my recommendation.
Well, and I love the fundamental pack as well, which then syncs, cognitive health with gut health and the central nervous system all together again, because right now we're finding that we're eating foods and the brain is not really on speed with we're done eating, and now we need to have that food moved over and we have to eliminate, and we have to keep the nutrients. So that's what it helps you get that whole system back on track again. cognitive health, gut health, and the central nervous system all in sync again. So I love that because I feel like that's the foundation of just about anything moving forward cellularly.
Yeah, keep it basic. Keep it basic. Get something that you know is going to work on the gut biome. Get something you know is going to, an appreciable boost in your dopamine, an appreciable jump in your serotonin. Look at the stats. Get those stats down because you want to make sure you're taking something that's actually going to make the big boost. And guys, if nothing else, do not let cultural conditioning stop you or your client from getting somewhere. It was Shane's story was so perfect that he was conditioned to putting ketchup on everything, it might not have been cultural, but it might have been within his family. Now, he just the way they are now. And what makes me think about that is think about the first time you tasted alcohol. 99% of people, the first time they taste alcohol, think it tastes horrible. But cultural conditioning says we drink when we're 21 when we go out to dinner, or that's part of going to college. Think about all the things, like Shane said, taking foods out of your diet that are bad for you is going to be a little tough in the beginning, but 6 months later, your body will not want it anymore. Your brain, okay, guys, your brain's only job is to keep you alive, period. There is one job for the human brain, and that is to keep you alive. So that's why we hoard fat, because your brain knows that if you got stuck on a desert island, you got to live on fuel if you can't eat. So we hoard body fat. Body fat is incredibly hard to burn because our brain knows it's the most bioavailable fuel source, and it's got 9 calories per gram instead of 4 for proteins and carbohydrates. Twice the power comes from fat. So your brain does everything it can to hoard fat. That's why we all stay fat. In case you guys didn't know, that's why everybody stays fat, because your brain wants you to be. But your brain does it. Cooling, heating. When you're moving blood in and out of your extremities. All that is just your brain trying to keep you alive. Part of that is your brain telling you not to put in poison. And just because it's not arsenic does not mean it's not poison. Poison to you might be gluten. Poison to you might be dairy. Poison to you might be ketchup. Poison to you might be vodka. Whatever it is, your body will have a pun intended, a gut reaction instantly because your brain is doing everything in its power to keep you alive and healthy. So observe those things. Don't let cultural conditioning force you to eat, to drink, to sleep, to do anything that your brain is telling you is wrong for you.
I would just like to jump in and just say, habits are just that, and habits can be changed. And so I'm going to encourage you, even if it's something small that you begin with, to get that body moving. And I feel like that's so important today, that even if you showed up for a group fitness class and you can only last 10 to 15 minutes in the beginning, it's important that you keep going back and you keep showing up. And I promise you that once you get through those first 30 days, that 10 or 15 minutes is going to double in time or even triple in time. And then your body is going to look forward to it. So you don't need to jump right in and go to the gym and spend an hour and a half there all in the beginning, right? Just do it in small increments, small changes. I like to look at life as making 2 millimeter shifts to create healthier habits. And so I'm going to keep encouraging you, whatever that is for you, the exercise and the movement, just start off slow and keep doing it continuously day after day.
I think that's really important. We, as a culture, it's so funny because American culture is so much about more in both ways, the healthy and the unhealthy. It's supersizing things. There's more sugar all the time. There's more calories all the time. There's more salt all the time. There's all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's, go big or go home, close, sell, work harder, work longer, lift more. It's all about the more. And I think it's really important and really healthy to let people know it's okay, like you just said, to make small incremental changes. It's okay to say, just go for a walk, and I think it's also really important I like that you kept threading through those first 30 days because it is hard to change. And it reminds me back because I ran track all through high school and college. And my coach used to say, the first day isn't easy. The second day isn't easy. What's hard is the 30th day and the 100th day and the 200th. He was like, what's hard is doing it consistently. And his little slogan was, the key is consistency. And you see that with people, like I know a lot of people like with smoking, for instance, they'll joke like, oh, I quit smoking every day when I go to sleep and I start again the next day, like when I wake up or whatever. It's easy to stop. It's hard to stay stopped. And it's easy to start things. We all see people, they're starting new diets all the time. Every January, people go to the gym like crazy. And in February, none of them go anymore. They started, but it was hard to keep going. So I think having that 30-day, if you can get through those 30 days and be aware of, oh, I think better, I feel better. I feel better in my body, I feel better in my mind. So I'm really glad that you said that message. And as a final question, I want to ask you both. You mentioned in the beginning that you consult with a lot of companies and you talk with a lot of different people. So what is the biggest thing that you have found when you consult with these companies is the major problem that either as a company culture that they have or that their employees are dealing with? If you were going to just say one thing that you've noticed that's kind of consistent across the board, what would that thing be?
I would have to say uniformly burnout. Like people are just feeling burnt out. And, it's really trying to get that mindset back on task now, and helping people to really understand that we kind of create the overwhelm within ourselves. The way we look at things, the way that we approach things in our businesses. And I feel like if we can just step out of our own way, sometimes we try to control things. I see people trying to control the outcomes, they have a certain vision in their mind about a way a certain thing is going to go, a certain project is going to go. But sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves and we get in our own way. And that's what I find is when we can help those clients to get out of their way and to accept they're setting a goal, they're setting intention, they're actually walking out and knowing where they want to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, but maybe just don't paint the entire picture. Allow things to unfold naturally along the way. And that's when I feel like doors open, people find themselves, they find their path a lot more easily. And that's, for me, I feel like that's the biggest hurdle that I try to help people to get through, is really to get out of their own way and to allow things to really show up and to not fear their greatness, because a lot of times that's what it is. It's like, they know that they're capable of more. They want to be more. They want to become more. They want to step it up. They want to level up. But yet, what does that take? And so then that overwhelm and that that burnt out feeling starts to kick back in again. And then they keep themselves at mediocrity, So just really trying to get them out of their way so their greatness and their inner soul can shine and speak out, and so that they can be seen and heard and acknowledged and create more significance within the company walls.
Shane, it's something that you and I actually talk about a lot for me, and it's drilling down to the avatar of who you're trying to serve. The one thing after consulting with so many companies, helping so many people advance their businesses, is this is called the Solve Network. We are trying to solve a problem, or else we wouldn't be here together. But until you know with utter specificity what that problem is, you are not going to solve it, which means you're not going to get them to their goal. So, drilling down to your perfect client that you can serve, figuring out when you find that client exactly what their problem is through questioning. Guys, you don't advance your business by talking. You advance your business by asking questions and finding out exactly what is causing the problems with your client. So there's nothing you can do more powerfully than to present yourself as an expert who learned from learning. That is such an important point. And if you're not learning everything about what is causing your clients or your customers these problems, you cannot address them properly, which means you can't get to that nth level. If you are in this to bring people to a higher level, if you yourself are looking to get to a higher level as well, you can only get there by serving with perfection. And you can only serve perfectly if you know exactly what the problem is you're trying to help your folks solve.
Those are both really well said, and I'm glad that we're ending there because I think that's a kind of great cap to the talk. So I want to thank you both for being here today. And if you had anything that you wanted to share, maybe where to contact you, where to follow you, where to find out more information about what you're doing, what would you say before we sign off today?
Guys, you can always reach us at melfordandconcetta.com. When you go there, it's not a site selling you anything. It's not a site telling you anything. It's a site where you can book a call. We just speaking to what I just said, until we know what's really going on with you, we can't help. We need to know what your goal is, what you want to achieve, and what's stopping you. We might be able to find that out in a 5-minute phone call, or it might be a 50-minute phone call. But one way or another, we want to help you help your clients get to where they want to be. And that's a phone call. So go to melfordconcetta.com, hit the magic button, and book a call so we can talk to each other.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the next call.
Hey, my name is James. I'm a lawyer who's always been interested in optimal human performance, and that's how I found Shane. If you're looking to upgrade your mental and physical fitness, then the Ultimate Performance course is for you. It's the key to performing better at work, at home, and in all of life's challenges. I've also found it to be a great community of like-minded and supportive professionals. As Shane says, together, everyone accomplishes more.
Want to have your ultimate performance or find out more about how to optimize your mind and body fitness? Contact me at shaneborza.com and see if the DIY or the group program would be best for you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Solve Network. These interviews are from our web series of the same name. Want to watch? Head over to YouTube and search for The Solve Network. If you have questions, you can reach out to me at shaneborza.com. On behalf of my co-founder, Benjamin Goss, we're glad you are a part of the network and hope you are finding solutions. If you need solutions, please reach out.